I feel my life is in constant flow. My life has its changing seasons. I feel it sharing in the rhythm of the ebb and the flow of creation. The tides, they come in and they go out, or one season moves into another. My life is filled with several tides, several seasons. I experience many summers, autumns, winters and springs. I experience many inflows, low tides and high tides. Each tide, each season brings with it new opportunities and new experiences. And on this cool, clear winter's day, my opportunity for vision, distant vision, is made whole. I wonder, as I walk along the low tide, what will it reveal? What will I notice, and what will come into view in me, in life? I don't begin with one inflowing and conclude on the ebb. But as with the sea, my life is filled with many incomings and many ebb tides. In the incoming and the going out, the sea remains the sea, only different, changed. The tide decreasing and increasing, leaving its mark on the soil, covering and then revealing the secrets of what lies beneath. If I take time, what will I see? What will come into view? Will I discover creatures hidden in the sand, half buried, looking back at me with their tiny red claws? Or when my tide runs out, what inner pools will be revealed? What green gardens of changing colour, softly flowing in the shallows, will come into vision? What will be the colours of revealed gardens, of fresh manifestings and unfoldings of creation? Or what stories of my past or other pasts will come into view, of past cultures and communities and ceremonies? What story will simply be told by what remains, if I'm able to stop and look and listen long enough? The autumn has come and has gone, and the colours filled me with joy for a moment. But as trees rest and the leaves fall, the branches form a frame of woven fragments through which we have a different view of life. A frame through which to view the sky in all its light and its dark, its blues and its greys. And as each leaf fell from the tree, it reveals more of the substance of the tree. What will be left of me when I am stripped to the bark? When I am bare and barren, what will be exposed and left of me? What will be the colours, the twists and the turns that will be exposed, the scars, the broken fragments that will be revealed? What will be the knobs and the bumps? And yet what will also be the beauty of the aging and the cracking of the wearing of the years. And there will be a reframing, a new opportunity of visions and horizons to be seen and to be shown. But for now, the days are shortened and the light is diminished for a time. Signs of day's end and a new emptiness and silence and stillness through which to gaze beyond. A fog has descended, and for a time and for a season I see through a mist dimly.
A Blessing for Travelling in the Dark by Jan Richardson. Go slow if you can, slower. Move slowly still. Friendly dark or fearsome. This is no place to break your neck by rushing, by running, by crashing into what you cannot see. Then again, it is true, different darks have different tasks. And if you have arrived here unawares, if you have come to peril or in pain, this might be no place you should dawdle. I do not know what these shadows ask of you, what they might hold that means you good or ill. It is not for me to reckon whether you should linger or you should leave. But this is what I can ask for you, that in the darkness there be a blessing, that in the shadows there be a welcome, that in the night you be encompassed by the love that knows your name.
In his poem entitled Shadows, D.H. Lawrence draws on the imagery of the seasons to reflect on life's journey accompanied by spirit. The poem speaks of the mysterious presence of God, renewing and refreshing us wherever our life journey takes us. I think there's much comfort and hope of newness of life to be found in this poem. We don't have to understand everything, but we can rest and find peace because, as the poet writes, we are in the hands of the unknown God, and each one of us can rise every morning a new person, a new creation. Shadows. And if tonight my soul may find her peace in sleep and sink in good oblivion, and in the morning wake like a new opened flower, then I have been dipped again in God and new created. And if, as weeks go round, in the dark of the moon my spirit darkens and goes out, and soft, strange gloom pervades my movements and my thoughts and words, then I shall know that I am walking still with God. We are close together, now the moon's in shadow. And if, as autumn deepens and darkens, I feel the pain of falling leaves and stems that break in storms, and trouble and dissolution and distress, and then the softness of deep shadows folding around my soul and spirit, around my lips so sweet, like a swoon, or more like the drowse of a low, sad song, singing darker than the nightingale, on to the solstice and the silence of short days, the silence of the year, the shadow. Then I shall know that my life is moving still with the dark earth and drenched with the deep oblivion of earth's lapse and renewal. And if, in the changing phases of man's life, I fall in sickness and in misery, my wrists seem broken and my heart seems dead, and strength is gone, and my life is only the leavings of a life, and still, among it all, snatches of lovely oblivion and snatches of renewal, odd wintry flowers upon the withered stem, yet new strange flowers, such as my life has not brought forth before, new blossoms of me. Then I must know that still I am in the hands of the unknown God. He is breaking me down to his own oblivion, to send me forth on a new morning, a new man, a new woman.
A reading from Job chapter 38, verses 25 to 30. Whose womb gives life to ice, or gives birth to skies filled with hoarfrost, when water becomes solid as stone, and the face of the deep becomes hard as steel? The good man Job had suffering brought upon him, and he called out in anguish and despair to his God. Out of the whirlwind, the ancient poet brought the voice of the holy wisdom, Sophia, to Job. Where were you when the morning stars danced together? Where were you when the mountain goat gave birth? Where were you when the eagle soared high? Where were you when the hippopotamus bathed in the river? And then the seasons. From her womb, holy wisdom brings forth hoarfrost, icicles, freezing rain, hard stone cold. And Job is reoriented with these words to the poet of the world, the divine.
The winter solstice is the exact time when the southern hemisphere or pole is tilted directly away from the sun and the north towards it. Notably, the word solstice means sun still. Astronomers explain that the sun stands still in the sense that its northern and southern journey stops. It seems to me to be a fitting metaphor for the opportunity afforded by the early darkening winter days for stillness, for stopping and taking time for reflection, for our inner growth, while the growth of nature quietly continues within the darkness of the earth. Yet, as Barbara Brown Taylor, teacher, Episcopal priest and author of Learning to Walk in the Dark, observes, traditionally, Christianity has not had much positive to say about darkness. From earliest times, Christians have drawn upon the imagery of darkness to speak of sin, of ignorance, spiritual blindness, and death. Theologically, this kind of language can be problematic. It sets daylight and darkness in opposition, identifying God only with the sunlit part of the day. It can risk suggesting untrue things about people of colour, about those who are visually impaired. It can justify denying aspects of life that trouble or scare us. For as the writer of 1 John puts it, God is light, and in God there is no darkness at all. Accepting such teaching at face value can lead to a kind of spirituality that discourages giving any meaningful attention to darkness. While it may seem that our Bible is brimful of references where light stands for life and darkness for death, if we look a little more closely, we find that this is not the whole story about darkness. Many important things happen in the dark of night in the Bible. We read that God led Abraham outside at night to look up at the stars. Count the stars if you are able, God says to Abraham, so shall your descendants be. So the night sky played a role in Abraham's decision to trust God. Abraham's grandson, Jacob, was visited by God in the middle of the night after he'd betrayed and fled from his family. Jacob lay down in the dark of night and fell asleep and dreamt a vision of a ladder and heard God's promise to be a good presence to him. Later, Jacob wrestles an angel all night long, surviving with a limp, a blessing, and a new name. His son Joseph dreams vision at night and attracts Pharaoh's interest, and he becomes royal interpreter of dreams. The Israelites' exodus from Egypt happens at night. God parts the Red Sea at night. Manna falls from the sky in the wilderness at night. God's good spirit clearly remains present in the darkness. And it seems to me that the darkness of winter's shortened days is a gift of grace. In darkness, seeds are drawn to germinate, flowers prepare to bloom. In darkness, as we rest our eyes, we can become more attentive to sound and listen more closely to the sounds of nature, to wind and to rain. In the quiet stillness of darkness, we may better hear one another's stories. In the darkness, we may find time for reflection and for deep and refreshing sleep. Indeed, darkness is life-giving. It was in the darkness of the womb that we were formed in such great complexity in all our uniqueness. When our busyness distracts us from the deeper things of life, from the source of stillness, the many gifts of winter, the darkness, the invigorating chill in the air, the beauty of nature at work, beckon us to be still, no matter the storms that might threaten. And steeped in awe and wonder, we can be replenished and recreated.
The winter tree is a weeping willow, its branches uneven and bent over, thin brown leafless twigs curving to the earth, but on top an almost rainbow of colour, a red and yellow, orange and green lorikeet resting against a blue and grey sky, but no purple of the spirit, for that is in the eye of the beholder.
A Blessing from This Long Night by Ruth Burgess. A blessing of the dark sky be yours, of the white moon and the faraway stars. A blessing of the cold earth be yours, a blessing of a warm hearth be yours, and of a lighted fire in a loving home. A blessing of the Maker, Storyteller, and Spirit be with you this long night and forevermore.
Yahweh, my source, my substance, my unfolding, how astonishing is the expansive sacred life in all the earth. For when I look at the heavens, the work of life, the moon and the stars that have been established, what are human beings that life is mindful of us, the child of humanity that life cares for us. Yet we have been made in the image of the unnameable and gifted with breath and mind and spirit. We have been given creative imagination and intelligence to be co-creators and stewards of this earth. Unnameable divine, our sacred source, our sacred substance, our sacred unfolding, how astonishing is your name in all the earth. The tides have come and gone, and the bay waves flow and roll, but they all remain part of the same source, the same substance, just manifesting and unfolding and flowing differently. In the winter, all things are stripped bare, to be seen differently for a time and for a season. May I be attentive to this time, this season, to the ebb and the flow of winter as it reveals its splendour and wonder to me, if I have the eyes to see it. All the while remembering that I am in the constant flow of the tides and the seasons, and that winter is an unfolding of life in which I live and move and have my being. And so I return to where I began, but as if for the first time.